And I'm the type of person that would rather get involved and make it better than just complain and talk about it.
What were some of those things?
Well, most of the time I drive down the road and the mirrors on my truck were getting ripped off. I replaced a few mirrors. The machine that I carry on my truck was constantly getting beaten to death by branches, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. Well, I decided to make the run for the office last term. Was unsuccessful in that bid, and the same things that were occurring during that term still persist today. I grew up on Shelter Island, went to Shelter Island High School, graduated from here and went to Farmingdale University, where I got a horticultural degree. I started a business with a pickup truck and a bamboo rake. And then some wise people told me that I should take the police test, that there was going to be some job openings coming up. I took the test and was hired by the town of Shelter Island as a police officer. Spent 14 years as a patrolman, always involved in really the functions and what was going on in the police department. Promoted to the position of sergeant, where my duties and responsibilities were to oversee the daily operations of the police department, the emergency preparedness and hurricane awareness programs. We started the accreditation of police agencies, where we became an accredited agency. I would have liked to stay there until that process had been completed, but my life was, I was missing too much of my family life, so I opted to retire. Leaving the police department freed me up to coach, and that was the thing I was missing with my kids. So I'm a JV basketball coach, and I coach the varsity golf team.
What kind of knowledge and skills does a highway super need to have?
A lot of skills. Now I think the job has changed. Now we're looking at, we need somebody that's a true manager of the department. We don't need a guy to be the stick the shovel in the ground, get behind the truck and drive. We need somebody who's going to do the planning, who has the foresight to see what direction we need to go. We need somebody who can work with numbers and budgets. That's the type of individual that this job is crying for. My horticulture and construction business, I have a lot of knowledge in that area. And my police training really is going to serve me well in this position. The job has been growing ahead of itself a little bit, I think. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and throw anybody under the bus. That's not my nature. I think Mark, and before Mark was Alfred, and before Alfred was Frankie, and I think all those guys cumulatively have moved the job ahead forwards. And I think that, it's just my time now to move the process ahead again. Today's job is more about being the manager, the guy who's going to go out and get the grants, who's going to go out and talk to the people to get the job, to get everything lined up, to schedule the men to make sure that they're accountable for what they need to be doing, and to oversee the chain of command that needs to be in place to make sure that everybody's accountable to somebody. It just can't be a free-for-all. I would like to set up areas for the men to be accountable to an area. My job is to be like the coach. Here's what I see, this is what I want, and here's how we can get it here. And I'll give you whatever help you need to get it there. We have a lot of buildings, we have a lot of grounds. I think what happens sometimes is that the guys that are kind of dedicated to that function get pulled away to do other things.
Yeah.
So my job is to increase the efficiencies in the way we do things so that those guys can be more dedicated to taking care of what we have.
Does the department need to grow in terms of staffing and equipment?
Equipment, yes. Staffing, I'm not quite sure yet. I'll probably have a better handle on that once in term and we're going, because my standard's higher than what we have now. Right now we have the compacting machinery and all that stuff's outside. It's in the weather. Weather is not good for machinery.
Yeah.
So we need to get that stuff under covers. Talking about weather, some of the problems we have with like our goodie pile is that it's only good as the first rain.
Yeah.
And then it's no longer any use to really anybody, and we end up throwing it out. So my idea with that area is to make it more like a store feel. So people put things on shelves, it looks like it belongs there, and you can kind of go in and shop, and we could close it up every night. Well, the guys are great. I mean, you know, whenever we have a bad circumstance, we have bad snow, we have a bad hurricane, we have, you know, something that's bad, the guys band together and they do a great job. You know, down at the recycling center, you know, it's all about functionality down there. It takes a long time for a guy to walk from the metal bin all the way over to the plastics bin and then back and forth. I mean, if you just look at the time between, you know, that walk, it's quite a period of time.
Yeah.
So, you know, with having a golf cart to run the guy back and forth real quick so he could better service the people, would something like that be beneficial? I would think so. So those are the type of things on cost savings. You know, another example would be like our mulch pile. You know, it takes us about a month to turn all the leaves that we have up there. That's like emptying a sugar bag with a thimble. I would rather use, you know, the cup scoop. Recently for the storm, they had a guy with a 6-yard payloader came up and he did the whole thing in 2 days. You know, we never really addressed the trees that we have on the island. We're always looking at the grass, but we're never looking at, you know, the trees that we have. I mean, I would love to free up enough time so that we could look at the trees on the opposite side of the street of our wires and try to nurture and cultivate, you know, good health of our trees. At some point it became acceptable to use an invasive species as barrier and screen.
Yeah.
And it's not. We have to eradicate it. And you know, maybe part of that is highway superintendent is to have a moratorium and say, okay, you know what, in March or in February I'm going to accept all brush, all invasives for free.
What happens to your business if you win this job?
My brother-in-law is going to have to work and do it, and you know, by no means is the amount of money that I'm going to receive from this going to be able, am I going to be able to survive really on this amount of money? I mean, I'm going to have to still work some on the side. There's just no way around that. Well, I'm a long-time Shelter Islander. I know the history of Shelter Island, where we're at. I'm not out to change it and make this into the Hamptons. My job, again, I think, is to move the bar up again, to make this job a professional job, so that the employees are looked at and viewed upon as professionals, that we're a professional organization, and that's something that I'll be able to sleep at night knowing that I moved this job forward.